This is episode 15 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. My guests today are Devinne Bravoco and Justin Balunsat of Just Divine Properties. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good, thank you. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having us, John.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I mean, we got in touch probably a year or 2 years ago, and I've been following along how you guys are doing, and I'm really impressed. So I'm excited to have you on. I'm going to read in your bio, and then we'll just get going from there. So Devinne and Justin actually started a local residential redevelopment company in 2018 after both being in the corporate world, like a lot of us, doing regular business. And now they purchase, renovate, and sell really beautifully designed homes. They work with sellers who need to get out of their current situation, buy their house in cash, close quickly, you renovate the home, and help improve the communities. And in May 2019, Devinne left her job. And Justin, when did you leave yours? Because I think this is what everybody is always looking for. How do you get out of the grind?
Yeah, I left actually first. I left maybe 2018 when we started, and we kind of hedged Devinne's corporate job for just a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually a really smart move. I mean, I think couples who invest, it's smart for one to deploy earlier and keep the cash flow coming. That was the plan, to keep it afloat while you see if it works, right?
Right. But listen, at the end of the day, you're never gonna feel like it's the right time. And, and I don't have kids, but I feel like people say the same thing about kids. You're never gonna be fully prepared. You just, when you want it and you want to go get it, you just gotta jump. And that's the big thing about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I always say there's a point where you get to it where you're doing well enough, but you can't prospectively be where you want, because there has to be a spot where you have to make the leap. So you guys obviously got to a point where you felt like, no, we got this. What was that point? And then we'll go back into how you got into real estate. But what was that kind of tipping point where you knew, like, hey, look, Devinne, it's time to go too. Like, let's just do this full time together.
So I feel like it was like God's way of putting it in my path. But honestly, it actually worked out. My company was going through an acquisition at the time, and they were getting bought. And so we were all interviewing for our jobs at the time. And I was like totally wishy-washy at the time. Like, I was like, do I want this job? Do I not want the job? And I remember interviewing for it, and I was like half in, half out. And I had like the worst interview ever. I was like, I think that I could do this job. I know I'm amazing. This is great. And then at the same time, I'm like, I've been here for a while. Maybe I should try something different. And this woman was interviewing me from the company that was purchasing ours. She's never met me. And I mean, honestly, how could you say that interview went well? And I remember my boss afterwards, like, had said, like, how did it go? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I want. And I was like having such anxiety about it, because I knew in my heart I didn't want to be there anymore, but I didn't know if it was the right time yet. And so I ended up taking a package and I left. So it ended up being like, I don't know, like fate working out at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I would have chose that time if it wasn't for the acquisition at that moment.
Yeah, and having a severance package definitely helps, because then you have some leverage to go. But I guess, like, it's weird to re-interview for your own job, and that tells you something about what you really want to do. You're probably struggling with it in that moment. What were you thinking, Justin? Were you thinking that you guys were ready to do this full time and, ready for her to jump out of that?
Yeah, I think that that was always the goal. And we even contemplated doing it far earlier, just both going. But yeah, I mean, we were ready. We knew we weren't probably going to scale anymore. We were running out of just available time, right? I can only do so much, and the corporate structure sucks all of your time away. So, yeah, I think it was time. We had just built and sold, I think, our first major renovation. We added a level, and we saw the potential and our confidence after that first deal. And I think that that's a big thing for all real estate investors that get into flipping or doing whatever, is getting through that first deal and the confidence that you gain from just knowing that you did it. You saw the whole thing through. It probably wasn't exactly how you wanted it to be, but you got to the end, and you know how and what you might do different next time.
Yeah, I love what you said. I mean, really like getting through with confidence is the key because a lot of things go wrong on a lot of our first projects. But sometimes you have to know, like, we made X amount. That's awesome. But I also know we can do better next time. And it seems like that's where you were at. Just stepping back, where does your interest in real estate come for both of you separately? And then how did you decide like this was what you were going to move on together?
Yeah, so I didn't have much interest in real estate other than I knew it created the most millionaires out of any other industry. So I knew it could be lucrative if I understood it and just educated ourselves on it. And we were both in hospitality. And so I think that the part of selling a beautiful home and the hospitable part, I think that Devin and I both share, kind of came together with real estate. Real estate is just a vehicle, and I knew that I was looking around at other investors and other individuals who were being successful and making good money, and I thought, man, if these guys can do it, I can do it. I just need to educate myself. I need to understand it. So yeah, I think that
What,
go ahead.
what about you, Devin? I mean, knowing your backgrounds from hospitality, that has a lot of like aesthetics of homes. And I've seen like your renovations are not like people who just say, I'm going to do like one flip and they cookie cutter Home Depot. Like you guys are doing high end, really nice, smart aesthetic choices. What was it that drove you to that? And then on your end, how did it work doing it together also in the beginning?
Yeah, of course. So I also didn't even think like real estate was a thing we would get into. My parents owned a bunch of rental properties, and that's actually what put me through college. And so I was very grateful to come out of college, and I had to pay for 1 year because I did the 5-year program.
Same.
But yeah,
Me too.
Yeah.
Other than that, my parents paid for my college because of the rentals, and same with my brother. And so I saw what real estate could do for a family and for just anything and everything. And so I had it like kind of always in the back of my head, but I never thought that it was something like that was like a job that I would do. I was very much like, I need a corporate job, like I need a job, you know? So
Yeah.
when when Justin and I really kind of put our heads together of like what we could do next, it was more so like a fantasy, and we kind of just started getting into it slowly. And then, as we talked more about it, I feel like we kind of put it out there into the universe and things were coming to us. And then we were signing up for different meetups and different webinars. And like, we realized that it is attainable. It's not something that's completely out there that we can't touch. Like we could do this too. And so we just kind of started one foot in front of the other and trying to educate ourselves as much as we could.
Yeah, you guys have really been into the coaching, mentorship. I mean, there's some that were unpaid, some that paid, and I know that people are always struggling with that in the beginning. I think it can work for everybody. I just think there's a lot of people who get things dangled in front of them and then they don't, make it work. So how did it work for you, and what were like kind of the first things that really took you up to the next level in terms of someone else helping you get over the hump of either like, can we really do this? Is this a real thing? Like you were saying.
I think for us, like it was more so about like, we want to do this and we want to do this right. And so like, if we can have somebody teach us how to do it and take away like more than half of the mistakes that we know we'll already make, let's just do it. And like, we had that money at the time and we were like, let's just invest in our education. And so I feel like for a good year, we invested in our education in every which way we possibly could, in conferences and, programs and webinars and anything and everything. We were constantly just trying to like feed ourselves knowledge at that time.
Yeah, I feel like though from watching you guys over the past couple of years, it's not just that you get the information, you immediately apply it. And I think you probably saw people at things that you paid for who were expecting it to do the work for them. And that's why I'm always like scared of mentorship for brand new investors, because I feel like they're paying for the holy grail, but they don't really want to do the work. You two really do the work, and you were invested in like getting it all done. What was the most impactful, I guess, event or mentorship that you had in the beginning? I know it might be on the questions at the end, but it's interesting to know like kind of which one really was like, oh, we can definitely do this?
Right. Well, I think that a mentorship program can be, I don't know, controversial for lack of a better term, but again, it's what you put into it, right? And so you're right when most people don't want to do the work. Most people aren't willing to put themselves out there, to get uncomfortable. Most people aren't willing to be coachable, to learn something new, to start at the bottom. And so that's why not everybody's a real estate investor. That's why not everybody's an entrepreneur. And I say that it's not for everybody because it takes a certain type of individual. We joined and it was probably the best $50,000 that we ever spent, but we joined an educational program and it gave us access to hundreds of coaches nationwide that we could call on, that we could email, that we could message on Facebook. There was just a ton of resources. And again, I saw people being successful. Was I nervous about, is this gimmicky? Am I going to lose my money? Am I going to get all? Sure, I was. But I also knew that there were people that were being successful doing this. So like Devin said, we paid up front for, I guess, our mistakes. We pay up front for the education, the mentorship. And that was, I think, the biggest thing is getting a coach, shortening the learning curve, stop being the know-it-all, humble yourself a little bit and follow some people that do it better than you. And I think that's where you need to start. It's unfortunate that people join these programs because they want to get rich quick. And I get some of the sales approach of these programs is a little bit of the get rich quick. And I'm not saying you can't. There are people who do one deal and have made more money than they've ever made. But what it also teaches you is money management, asset protection, creation of LLCs and self-marketing, sales. It teaches you, presentation, public speaking, negotiation. There's so many more things that these programs can teach you if you take what they're giving you.
Yeah.
Not all of them are good. A lot of them, you need to do your research and you need to be a human being and don't just send people money that you don't know about. But
it happens.
But I think finding a coach, whether it's a coach or mentorship, something free or paid, find someone you trust. I think that's the biggest thing. Find someone you trust, who has time to walk you through the program, walk you through, how to get from A to Z and whatever. And it's so vast, right? Real estate's so vast. And so many people have opinions on what you should be doing. So it's hard to trust people in the industry if they're not invested in you as well.
Yeah, I feel like the programs, and we'll see what you guys think, they provide a framework for a lot of what you do. A lot of people who are used to business culture are used to like, okay, well, this is what I do 9 to 5. And then you get into investing and you're like, you can do whatever you want, which means you can just sit around and do nothing and accomplish nothing. But I think it provides like a, framework guidebook on how to do it. And then you guys are taking the guidebook, putting your own spin on it, improving on it. Whereas everybody else is like, isn't the guidebook just going to like do everything for me? And the other thing that I think is really important that you said is about the human part of it. Even if you pay up for a mentorship, if all you did was build relationships inside that group, you will be successful. 100. If, like you said, you're coachable, open to learning and learning from those who've done it before you. And I think that's where you can really say, like, some people have definitely like paid up and thought it was a failure. But I think you can identify why. And there's definitely scammy programs out there. But like you said, I think you can do your research, talk to other people. And even if it is salesy, it doesn't mean that the information in there can't help you. Even if it's stuff you could find other places, it won't be all succinct, packaged up for you, ready to go. So where did you take it from there? You go through that first mentorship program. And then how did you get into your first deal? I think that's a great place to start.
I think, well, like, even just going from that too, like, it's like the most unattractive thing when you're, you're a couple and you're in this mentorship, but you're still working, you're working your jobs. And again, we were in hospitality. And so our hours weren't like your typical 9 to 5. Like
Right.
sometimes we're going to be at the office at 3 a.m. Sometimes we didn't get home until 2 a.m. Like our hours were very, very different, if you will. And so we still made it a thing to come home and watch like our curriculum and sit there and for hours and spend like, if we had a lunch break, we're eating lunch while we're talking to a coach, like we tried to do as much as we could. And we tried to go to as many meetups as we could. And so meetups are actually the way that we got our first deal, because we were constantly networking. And exactly how you said, like, even if you just meet the people and network with the people in that program, that's a win. And so we were all about capitalizing off of as much as we possibly could at that time, and still to this day. And so networking for us, we went to one meetup per day for a good month.
Oh my gosh.
We met some amazing people that we still are in contact with. And so we were going to a meetup that was a monthly meetup, and we just kind of put ourselves out there. And, there were some vendors there, and we went and we met one of the real estate agents that was obviously investor friendly, and just kind of had a conversation like a normal human being, and just never looked for a property. And they ended up kind of wholesaling 2 properties to us. So we ended up buying 2 from them. One that we tried to subdivide and it didn't work, so we ended up selling it. And then the other that we did flip.
Yeah. It's when you got into it, did you know you wanted to flip, or did you start out thinking, hey, maybe we'll wholesale, build some cash like a lot of people think? Or were you ready to kind of build? Because, I mean, you guys are doing big projects and you did that at a level pretty quick, and that's a big undertaking. What your thought was, and then what actually transpired?
It's funny because when we first started, we met with like it was one of Justin's friends who was a realtor, and he was bringing us to all these different properties. And we were thinking like we were going to either house hack or, like buy rentals, or honestly, I don't even know if we knew what we wanted.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, we went to see this one house, and he had brought us to a bunch at the time. And we went to see this one house, and Justin and I went in there and we're like, well, if you knock this wall down and we move this and we change this. And honestly, it was that moment that he was like, every house that I bring you guys in, even if it's a turnkey, you want to knock walls down and change things.
It's fun.
And he was like, why? Like, you say you want turnkey and like little work, and then every house we go into, you want to change. And it's funny because I look back at it now that was like a turning point especially like for me in that point, because we did, but like, I don't think we actually knew that. And even in that moment, I was like, oh, go away. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, I was like, no, we know we're going to be successful. We're going to do this. And I remember like, that was a great deal if we went for it that time, but we weren't in that headspace. So I think, from hearing that, we kind of just pivoted a little bit. And so then we got into more of the fix and flip. And our first one, I mean, I don't recommend it to anyone starting out, but
none of us do.
Our first one, we ended up knocking it down to the foundation, and we built a 2,800 square foot house. We designed the whole thing, and we built it. It took much more time and money than we had anticipated, but we learned so much from that house and that process, and just building contacts and everything. So it was, I don't regret it by any means.
Yeah. And I don't know that I would agree with not recommending it. If you have the stomach and the risk aversion to take on something like that, then I say do it, because you're going to learn everything. You're going to learn so much in such a condensed amount of time building a house like that. If you're getting into, flipping rather than doing a kitchen or a bathroom or, you're going to ins and outs of that thing, and whether you want to flip or not. And so, no, we weren't looking to flip at all, right? We wanted passive income. We wanted to make money when we sleep, right? That's the sexy thing. But learning the ins and outs of a home is like anything else. Like you just understand what it's going to take when you come into a rental opportunity. You just know and are just more educated, more knowledgeable about the property. So I think it's a good idea to understand construction.
For sure.
even if you're not going to stay in the game, the flipping game forever. And Devin and I are almost 5 years into this, and we're transitioning out of flipping. The market's a little bit wonky right now.
Yeah.
A lot of success with Airbnb, short-term rentals. So we're just going to pivot a little bit and see what happens in the market,
Yeah. Yeah. Two things on the follow-up. I think Devin brought up something that you guys did that is so important that I think most new investors are failing to do. You were looking at a crap ton of properties. And that's how it helped you develop, like, hey, we are always wanting to move walls. The problem with some new investors is they're just crunching numbers, and they can't find an investor-friendly realtor who will take them out and show them dumps so they can get the reps in to like know. Because you would have never got there if you're just running numbers on, like, what a long-term rental would be. You won't know what you like. And then secondarily, when you said, I like how you guys kind of agreed to disagree on whether or not to do it. But I think the thing is, you were present. If you're going to do a major job for your first flip and you're not going to be present, you're going to get destroyed because the contractors are going to steal your money. You're not going to know what's happening. At least when you do it, you're on site. And like you said, you're learning everything. And I think that's really, really important. You're totally right. If you're going to be in investing, you better learn about the ins and outs of houses, or else how else are you going to evaluate what the repair costs, even for an Airbnb, where there are going to be issues long term that may affect me because you're working on cash flow. Awesome. How did you transition to doing more Airbnbs? What was your first short-term rental? And then what does that look like now for you guys?
Yeah, our first short-term rental we got just about a year ago in November in Saugerties, New York.
Oh, awesome.
Catskills area, just outside of Woodstock. And Devin was the one doing a lot of the research up there. I'm not quite sure how we kind of honed in on the Catskills, but I'm glad that she did. Again, I think probably just groups and networking and understanding, the benefits of short-term rentals. But so we just got a 2-bed, 2-bath modular home on an acre. And it was semi-renovated, but the space just was just an underperforming asset. There was an Airbnb before.
Oh, perfect.
When we walked it, it was just kind of in like just half-assed furniture,
Yeah.
And a lot of people do this with Airbnbs, right? They just kind of throw half-assed stuff in there, what they can find in garage sales. And we garage sale and estate sale too, but just didn't put the love and the TLC. And this is where I think our hospitality background really kind of pays off, and how I think these two industries are kind of converging for us. So we took the house that was underperforming at like $100 a night, or maybe $125 a night, and we turned it into an asset that is up to $400, $399 a night on weekends and holidays. It's going to grow somewhere in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. And so,
what's the buy price on that generally with rehab?
Yeah, we bought it at 236, I believe, something along there.
Yeah,
only because I love sevens.
230. It was on the market. It was listed on the MLS. We just went up one weekend. It's a 2-hour drive. We had a realtor. We had boots on the ground up there. And a realtor said, you need to go check out Saugerties. So we went up one Sunday and we just went to open houses. We looked on Zillow. We found open houses. It's not like we didn't do a whole bunch of genius things, right?
Right.
We took the effort. We went up there. We looked at 5 or 6. We drove by one and I thought, there's no way we're getting this house. Someone has it under contract. It's an awesome property. Like I could just tell from the street. There was a sign up. We called the realtor. The realtor let us in illegally. But it's the backwoods in the Catskills.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, she gave us the code. We walked it, and we basically just put in 4 or 5 offers on the way home. Right? We just gave verbal offers. We made, we did our work on the way home. Any kind of real attention that we got, we made written offers when we got home.
Yeah,
and we ended up getting this property, and we got it because of our offer may not have been the best number, but it was the best, the strongest offer with the best contingencies and the best.
Yeah. And
the best terms.
I think that once you learn about houses, though, you can be much more strong in your contingencies. I mean, I don't even do home inspections. I know all the stuff. We just do oil tank scans and sewer inspections. You know, we've looked at everything else and the rest is on us. We're calculating, you know, what we might lose. And I'm also never going to go back on that. I just tell them, look, if I find an oil tank or, you know, a broken sewer, I'm going to ask you for money. Other than that, like, we're good to go. And I think that's what you guys learned from doing the projects before, is like, it makes it much easier to buy an investment property. But then how did you, I guess your hospitality background helps so much with short-term rental in terms of you can take an existing structure, restage and redesign without spending a ton of money and go from $100 a night to $400 a night just because they don't know how to market, right? I mean, that's really what it is from a hospitality background, is, are you setting up a short-term rental to be a getaway for someone, or are you just putting a house up that someone can, like you said, stay on everybody's furniture in the neighborhood for a weekend?
Yeah. And Devinne does the design. I'm there to hang stuff, put things on walls, you know, stuff like that. But Devinne really has the vision. We have some connections on some estate sale companies. You know, we go to, well, I'm going to let her talk because she does all of this, but I just had to give the shout out to her because you're right. You have to, from a hotel standpoint, you have to create, it's a small hotel. It's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom hotel. And you have to create the space for the guests that are coming. I'm going to pass it to Devinne.
Yeah.
I think especially too for Airbnbs, like as we were getting into it, it was kind of like that unspoken thing at the time. Like still, I mean, I feel like people now are like Airbnb, like there's like a frenzy going on, but like at the time, like it was still kind of like unheard of, I feel like. And so, you know, I had researched it for probably about a year, and, you know, I was in the Poconos at one point. I wanted to be somewhere that was drivable for us. So God forbid something happened, we could drive up there. And so when I kind of settled on the Catskills, I was actually in the town of Catskills trying to work, like make numbers work and figure out like, you know, areas and stuff. And our friend was a realtor, kind of farther away from there, but she was willing to drive for us. And so she would go up and she would send us like videos of properties. And I was like, I don't like it. Like, it's not like my vibe. And so she was like, I think you would like the town of Socrates. Why don't you go visit it? It's more of kind of like your hippie-ish town.
Yes.
Woodstock, like go check it out. And so I'll never forget, Justin and I literally went up for I think it was a Sunday. We brought our dog and we went for lunch at Miss Lucy's, which is amazing. Yeah. And we were sitting there and we were just making phone calls. And I was like, let's just do it. And so, like you said, we had the house under contract by the time we got home that night. So, you know, and that one too, like we won it on terms, and they had it under contract 1 or 2 times prior to, and the people just couldn't close. I think they were doing like a conventional loan, and it's a modular home, and, you know, there's a million different things that could go wrong. And so we got it for a lower price, based on terms that we wanted. So anyway, we went into it. It was fun for me because like I like the design thing. It's not something that I was like, I don't have a design license. I didn't go to design school. I kind of just fell into it, especially when we were doing our first flip. Like I had to pick all the fixtures, and it stressed me out so much the first time.
Fixtures are tough. Yeah, it's tough.
I spent hours, especially our first project. I spent way more money than we probably needed to spend on fixtures at the time. So our first buyers got amazing quality. But like I learned a lot through that, and I learned like what looks good in a house, and what size to put where, and like how to figure out like what makes sense. And so for me, like I was so excited to design like an Airbnb because it wasn't your typical flip. Whereas like a flip, as you know, has to be like to the masses, if you will. Like it has to be neutral in a sense. And like, yeah, that's fun. Don't get me wrong. But like you can't be very, like you can't experiment so much. You can only go like a little bit. And so, I was like super excited, and I had been like collecting like furniture, if you will.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
My parents have a detached garage that we totally had stocked of things. And like Justin said, my mom works for an estate sale company. And so I was always like collecting stuff there and like refinishing furniture. And it just was like, it was fun. And so just playing with colors and playing with textures and stuff was exciting to me to make it like a little bit different than usual. And so the furnishing part was really fun. I had it very well organized. We went up with the U-Haul and it was furnished within 24 hours. Like
Yeah.
it was done. And so that part was really fun. And then the hospitality part of it, I mean, Justin, he doesn't give himself enough credit that he worked in a hotel, in a luxury hotel in Manhattan. And so he knows like that structure very well. And then I was an event planner in Manhattan as well. And so I traveled to like every nice hotel you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So we know like luxury. And so we wanted to portray that feel towards our guests. Like we wanted it to be this like luxury retreat, if you will. And so again, we put more money into like getting like nice robes so that when they're there, they can like relax. Like there was just like little things that we would do. And so I think, when you spend the money up front, it definitely comes back to you. And so throughout the process, like that's the feedback that we've been getting. And so really like it. And we've become like kind of friends with some of our guests. And, we've had repeat guests come back now. And so excited that we're launching 2 new Airbnbs.
More. Yeah. That's a great scale. I mean, I did short-term rentals before Airbnb existed. We had 2 in the Hamptons, and we would have the same, our summers were booked, 6 months in advance because the same people would come every summer. We ended up selling one of them to one of the short-term rental tenants. But what you just started to say is really important. Now you have clients who are like, ooh, you're doing one in another spot. Like, let me go there. It allows you to expand and use existing clientele to build out your business. And I think, hospitality background is so important to this because a lot of things you said are important, but people who are looking at short-term rental as just a money thing, they're going to miss the point. Like it's an experience for, if you focus on the clientele and how good the experience is, it's not just one stay. They're going to tell all their friends and their friends are going to come. And like you said, they're going to come back every summer. And I think that's, as we'll get into like what's wrong with real estate investing, I think the people who are just focused on the money, like Justin, you said in the beginning, it's a great way to get started to think of it that way, but it can really take you off track of what you're trying to do. And holistically, like, does this feel good?
Right, right. I think that's important what you just said. Does it feel good? You have to, you're going to have so many influences as you start this journey, not only in entrepreneurship, but in real estate. And like I said earlier, everybody has an opinion. And so if you start chasing everyone's opinion on what you should be doing, you're going to have a real hard time being successful. You need to really put the blinders on, be honest with yourself. Does this make me happy? Do I like this part of real estate? Do I need to pivot a little bit? Does this market fit me? Understanding your market is a huge thing because every market has its own challenges. But yeah, I think, what you said is really important. Am I enjoying it? Am I having fun? As an entrepreneur, we now are in the driver's seat for, does this feel good? Am I having fun doing what I want to do, making money?
Yeah.
That's the blessing of entrepreneurship. And so and it's a hard mentality to shift into because coming from a corporate structure, you have this kind of, I'm not doing enough. I got people over my shoulder. I should be doing more. I shouldn't be having fun at work kind of thing. And that's not the case, man. Those are, when things get hard or when things get, when you feel like maybe you're not doing enough, I just remind myself like, this is why I got into it so that I can take a couple days off. If I feel like I need a couple days off, if I want to take a Tuesday, Wednesday off, I can, and then I can reset and come back cranking on Thursday, So I think that's really important what you said about, does it fit your life? Are you enjoying what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Devin.
I want to add to that too. Like, I think like when Justin and I first got into like short-term rentals, again, we're big on education. So I took a course on how to launch an Airbnb and how to do it the right way. And so everyone in the Airbnb, like in that course didn't allow pets. And Justin and I thought about it and we're like, we bring our dog everywhere. Like our dog.
I'm just pro pets for everything. Like
100%.
you can make way more money and most pet owners are no one's going on an Airbnb with like a terrible dog. They're like love their dog. Sorry, go ahead, but I just have to agree like aggressively on that.
Well, and like I get it. Like there's, I in the course, like specifically, there was a bunch of people that had like bad situations where they had to replace furniture or stuff like that. And then Justin and I would think about at the time, like we only had one dog, we now have two, but like we still bring both of our dogs everywhere. And so I remember like trying to get an Airbnb and trying to figure out, we went on a road trip and where can we stay with our dog?
Yeah.
And it was just a pain in the butt. And so we were like, okay, so these are the problems that people are having with dogs. How do we kind of overcome that and still allow people to bring their dogs? Because, it's a vacation. I'm bringing my dog everywhere. So like we came up with different ideas. So now we have like amenities for the dogs. There's a dog bed and tennis balls and poop bags and biscuits. And then we have like dog dishes and we have like the biggest thing was like ruining the furniture. So we have like big dog blankets that are like water resistant. And so we're like, if your dog is there, just drape them over the furniture so that you don't ruin the furniture. Like it was just finding ways around it so that you can still, be a pet friendly house. So I think those are just different ways that we kind of put our heads together to, again, give the experience that we wanted to give and not be so cookie cutter in that sense.
That's a big point, though, because you're creating it the way that you want. And I think, like you're saying, people get into this. Oh, I took a course and everybody said they don't allow pets. But like my dog goes to Airbnbs too. And like, I just bring a blanket or they say, here's the blankets. And you created hospitality for the pets, the same as everyone should create hospitality for children. If it's a child friendly Airbnb, make sure that you have your packable cribs or whatever. And these are just things that your people who are just focused on the money, who would later become like just long-term bad landlords, just think like, well, they'll be fine. But you're not creating repeat customers. And I think that's the failure of a lot of kind of the short-term rental investing.
And the dog, dog friendly owners, like they go everywhere. They talk all the time. Like
exactly.
Community, we're always like, we're followed by so many different like dog friendly restaurant, dog friendly, recommending places to stay. Like there's a great community there. And so I mean, we love it because one, we love dogs, but like, it's also like helped our business. We had a I don't know what they're called. Their name is Mind of Dog. And they actually brought up 14 dogs to our cabin.
Wow.
Yeah, and they brought crates for each dog. So each dog stayed in its own crate. Like they're incredible. They have their own business in Randolph, New Jersey, where they train, and it's like a camp kind of thing for the dogs. But I mean, that even brought in other business for us because they have a great following too. And, just grateful for that community and just always trying to promote it in different ways.
So many good tips that you're giving out here for new investors who are, everyone's interested in Airbnb, but there's a lot of ways you can go wrong. But I think focusing on one, like what you like, and then giving people what they want is really what it's about. I wish everyone would take that in. I've been staying in short-term rentals for like almost 20 years because I don't like hotels. And over the whole time, because you can really get a lot from reading the reviews and seeing who else has stayed there. I've only had maybe 2 or 3 bad experiences over the years. So I think if you can do it right, it can be lucrative. So just before we get into the final questions, how many properties have you guys flipped to date? And then how many Airbnbs are you holding now? And then I'll follow up on that.
Yeah. So if I'm looking up at my board right now, we have about 10 flips probably, which doesn't sound like a lot, maybe a couple more. But they're all major renovations that take,
a year.
Yeah. 8 to 10
Yeah,
months.
you do some big ones. Yeah.
So, and then we're now holding 4. We just closed yesterday on our 4th.
Congrats.
Airbnb, right? So 2 of them will be listed by the end of this week or by the end of next week. And then this one has a little bit of renovation that we're going to work on. But yeah, those 4 and then
are those all in the Catskills area?
Yeah, they're all within 20 or 30 minutes of each other, which is good. Another good tip to do, make sure that, again, what is it going to take if multiple houses have issues, right? If you got to drive 2 hours to one and then 2 hours to another, and then you got to drive back home. So, be smart in where you're looking. We like also 4-season rentals, so that we're constantly getting people in there. I would also say that if you do it right, if you spend the time, you design it the right way, you make it cozy, comfortable, you start pricing out some of the people that trash places or want to throw parties, or, I'm going to get a different clientele at $99 a night than at $3.99 a night. And they're going to take care of their animals different, and it's just a whole different thing. So those are things you need to think about. Am I going to just be cheap and just get this thing on the market? And am I okay with $99 a night and just, making the mortgage payment, or do I want to do this right? We were Superhosts in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. We were
You're hitting on something really important. That was Ryan Goldfarb on a previous podcast, and John Errico on one that's going to come out right before you guys. They have about 100 units in Atlantic City, or short-term rentals, and they said the same thing. A lot of times when they get started on a new project, they would just want to get the reviews in, so they'd go with a lower price, and they regretted it every time. Because look, it's okay that some people can't afford the higher prices, but just generally over the course of time, if you're bargain hunting for that, there's a reason, and it's gonna cause problems. So I really, really think that's great advice to price up to what you want it to be worth, and then make sure you get the value there. I'd rather have less bookings and better, clientele coming in than more bookings and more problems.
Exactly.
So what's the future? Is it really going to be now? You said there's a market shift, so you guys are pivoting to more short-term rentals. Is that going to be what the next year looks like? More short-term rental acquisition and less to no flipping?
Yeah, I mean, we're finishing up a property in Westfield, New Jersey right now that we pre-sold for $1.35 million.
Sweet.
It was just framed, and then we worked with a good realtor who has done pre-sales before. We have never done a pre-sale, but in this market, it was amazing. And we got well over what we thought what we initially analyzed it at. So we're finishing that guy up. It'll be done in December, but we have another big $1 million renovation in Basking Ridge that's going to take, probably 4 to 6 months from now. So, we still got our hands full, but yeah, I think we're pivoting. We've just been so successful with those, and
they take a lot though. Flips just take a lot. I mean, especially as a couple, it's just like a lot of decisions that you're bouncing off each other and trying to agree on, and then assessing the market stats, and then the market goes up and down. So the pre-sale is fantastic for right now, because you can't really know what the market's going to do. So I'd rather have a guaranteed sale on that. That's awesome.
Exactly. And a non-refundable 10% deposit.
Yeah. So you're right. Worst case scenario, you're going to cash in 10% and then just list it when it's done. So, I mean, it's very safe.
Exactly.
Awesome. Let me get into our final questions, and then we'll wrap it up at the end. I know Devin filled this out, so we'll get your opinion on these as well, Justin. But these are the questions that we ask at the end of every episode. So your greatest influence in real estate and why? Devin said Amy Majori on the coaching aspect. Tell us why, and then we'll see if Justin agrees or has somebody else also.
So it's funny because I filled it out a while ago, and I still agree. I love Amy. Amy's amazing. She was our first real estate coach. She's now a great mentor and friend of ours. We talk to her very often. She also runs a course for raising private money. So if anyone ever needs it, would definitely recommend her course. Yeah. She's an incredible person, a speaker, and she's just doing great things. So really appreciate her. She's done a lot for us, and just appreciate how much so much energy she's put into us to help us to get to where we are today.
Justin, are you co-signing that one, or do you have someone else to add also?
Yeah, I would co-sign that, but I just think that there's so many influences along the way that just kind of serve their purpose as we've kind of gone along. Amy was really the foundation to really kind of help us at the very, very beginning. He was our real estate coach that we got from the mentorship program that we paid $50,000 for.
Yeah. But look where you guys are now. That's why I think if you see all the people sad sacking for paying, too much, they probably just didn't try to do much with it. You can take it. I mean, all of your flips you're doing, they're selling out at over $1 million. So you can do it, but you have to be running it like a business. That's what I think one of the keys is. The most important trait for real estate investor to have, Devin said, mindset. Do you guys both agree on that? I totally agree. Obviously, this is about the mindful approach to real estate investing, and mindset is so important. How does mindset play a role for you two? Because one thing I noticed is you said, I'm going to look at my big board, and people who have big boards have strong mindsets. You're keeping track of what's going on. So how's that played a role in you two together working on like kind of a collective mindset to do this?
I think, we're always working on it. We're reading, we're networking, we're spending time alone, we're spending time in nature, like anything that recharges us, I think is really important. And we both struggle at times. Like we kind of use each other to lift each other up too at times. Like there's definitely times that like I'm in a bad mindset and I need like a recheck. Like I can feel myself that I'm not my best self right now and I need help getting back to where I am. So I think that's something that we as coaches, we coach real estate investors now too. And so we as coaches, like we're always trying to tell our students too, like that's going to be your make or break on if you're successful in this business or not. It's just like the work, you can do the work. The work is easy, but your mind is what's going to complicate things or hold you back. So always working on your mindset, I would say, is the number one part of being an entrepreneur in general.
Yeah, I would agree. There's no school for entrepreneurship, growing up. There are some colleges that focus on entrepreneurship, but your normal public school education is not teaching you how to be an entrepreneur. And
I think it's aggressively against entrepreneurship. That's why I was so disappointed with the educational system with my kids going through it. It's like, just do these obvious things and take all these things. And then all the kids who think bigger, they're like, well, you're not going to be successful.
Exactly. I believe that if you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And it's just so important that we deal with adversity the right way, that we, it's mental health in and of itself is hard. And entrepreneurship is there's risk. There's things on your shoulders that aren't normally on your shoulders. It can be heavy at times and you're going to lose. So, you need to be ready for the losses. How are you going to react when you lose?
Yeah.
Are you going to crumble? Is your business going to fold? Are you going to cry it out, bow up and get back after it, and learn from it? So it's mindset has to be number one, and it's not, all right, I got a good mindset. Now I'm good to go. No, this is a lifelong thing. This is something you work on, and you're gonna take losses in places that you don't normally take losses. You're gonna win in places that you don't normally win, and you need to understand how to deal with those wins and those losses.
Yeah, those are great points. I mean, I think when people talk about mindset in a business or real estate context, they're just thinking of the business end. But like you said, like right now, I mean, we're probably in like the biggest mental health crisis like in the history of the world, just because for kids and us as adults, like there's just so much stuff flying at us that if you're not paying attention to yourself, how could you be good at business? How are you going to be a good investor or a good business person, like if your mental health is crumbling? So I think that's so important to note, and to note that mindset is really a personal thing. And then when you have your personal mindset going at your best, you're going to be at your best in your business as well, and more free to like feel good about it, like we said earlier. What is wrong with real estate investing world right now? Devin said negativity. I agree with that. There are definitely things I'm negative about, but what did you mean by that? And then we'll get Justin to weigh in as well.
I don't remember at that time. I think that there's like definitely like a judgment thing, if you will. And when we started out, like our biggest thing was like, we want to learn and we want to put the energy into learning, but we also want to help others. And so I think, when you're starting out, like I still say, like, share your contacts, like don't hold them in, because like, what are you doing? Like you're succeeding, but like, are you helping the greater good by helping somebody else? And so we're like an open book. We share everything and anything.
Same.
We give out our contacts all the time. I mean, if they work, then, great. If they don't, they work for us. So, it's who we use. I won't recommend somebody that we wouldn't use. Yeah, I don't know. I think like it kind of goes back to mindset, because there's certain people, like as you go into a room, like you'll be like, I know that I can't listen to this person, or I can't be around this person because this person's affecting my mindset. And that's okay. Like it's just more to acknowledge that and move on, and to be around people that are smarter than you. Like, I think it's really important to make yourself uncomfortable and to challenge yourself and to push yourself to be better. And I'll give you a firm example is I'm in an accountability group and I needed to be challenged more. And I was like, please switch me to an accountability group where everyone is doing bigger and better things than I am. I want to be in that group because I want to be there. And so I think it's just important to understand and to surround yourself with people that are doing better and doing more and doing whatever, so that like you can also see their mindset and how they work and how they react to things, because that's what's going to get you there. So yeah, I think it's just more so about who you surround yourself with, and yeah, keep fueling that tank to get you to the next spot.
It's big in investing, though. I mean, if you take from life, you know, that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you put that into the investing world and you spend people who are doing business the wrong way, you're probably going to do business the wrong way. Yeah. Really important. This actually goes right into the next one. One way we could all collectively make the real estate investing world better, support one another. Directly related to what you just last said, you guys are coaching now. How did you start coaching, and what does that program look like for people who are interested?
Yeah, we're coaching for Homeschooled by Tarek. So Tarek El Musa from HGTV Flip or Flop. If you want to join, reach out to us. We can connect you to somebody.
Yeah, we will put the links in the show notes for sure.
Yeah. It's a great program. Honored to be a coach there and to influence people starting out in real estate and just help them kind of get started. For me personally, like, I love coaching. I love coaching these students because a lot of the times, truthfully, you're coaching on mindset too. You're coaching them to get out of their own way. You're coaching them to get over the fear of like, okay, we're buying maybe like the most expensive asset you've ever bought, but like, let's talk about how it's going to benefit you. And so I just think a lot of it is like, I like to be that person that I can help influence other people because I've been there before. And so, for me, it's an honor. And, each of us individually have about 30 students that we meet with weekly.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, it's an honor. I love it. It's been a great experience and really excited for that to continue.
Yeah, Justin, What about you? How does the coaching help you? Because I've always found as a coach and being coached that the more I coach, the more things I learn about myself and how I can help as well.
Yeah, teaching things back to people always kind of cements thing, no matter what you're doing. I'm a 3-sport high school coach as well. But like Devinne said, I like that I and Devinne are just very middle-class background people. We're just normal people who decided to do things our way, create our own reality. We decided to do it. Nobody did it for us. And now we get to do whatever we want every day. We choose how we get to create our wealth. We choose how to create our income. We've created it, but we went out and did it. And that's the difference between Devinne and I and everybody else. Is that we stopped complaining about the shit. We stopped comparing ourselves to everybody else, and we just started creating our reality. What makes us happy? What is the right way to do? And we don't do it right every day, all the time. We do it wrong.
That wouldn't be any fun. It's nice to make some messes to clean up.
Exactly. But we're just normal people that did it, and there's no bigger testament than your own life and how you're living it and what you did to get there. And so I think that's what I'm most proud of. I think that's why I love coaching, because I'm just an example of what normal people can do with their life. And we haven't even done the best of what I think people can do. We're just living the life we want to live, you know, and we're not there. We're not where we want to be financially. We're not where we want to be as far as owning assets. We're not where we want to be. We got a ton of goals still left to accomplish, and a whole bunch of buildings still left to do. We're only 5 years into entrepreneurship. But if someone told you that if you risked everything, if you opened up credit cards, maxed them out, if you used your life savings, if you took out your 401k and lent it, if you spent the next 5 years educating yourself, not making much money, living at home in the basement for a while, you know, scaling back your expenses, but in 5 years you'll be able to do whatever you want whenever you want, not wake up to an alarm. Nobody's telling you what to do. Go on vacation when you want. Would you do that? Would you do that?
That's it. It's a good question to ask. I think everybody listening should answer that if they're new, because if the answer is no, that's okay. Find a different way to get there, but you can get there by doing the grind also in a different way, not your 9-to-5 business grind, but yeah, cutting back, making sure that you're doing things the right way for the future. I think too many people are just short-term thinkers. They're thinking, what am I going to get tomorrow? Oh, I didn't make X by tomorrow, so now I'm going to give up. And if you guys, especially, I'm sure it helps that you can plan these things together. You have somebody to bounce it off. That's certainly like a nice soft cushion to be able to go back and forth and say, like, you like this, I like this, let's figure out a compromise. And also, like Devin said before, have someone to say, like, actually, I think you need a little assist today, or I need a little assist. So yeah, those are great advice. Best book you've read that influenced your career in real estate? Devin said Profit First for Real Estate Investing. Why? And then I'll get to you too, Justin, on the book, because I know you guys are big educational junkies. So there's always stuff in the books that is going to help along the way.
Yeah, I read that book this year, and I don't know how it's taken this long to read it. It's the best book I've ever read. Anyone needs to read it. It's helped me just kind of like to put everything in different compartments so that I can kind of figure out like how to kind of handle our finances, especially from our flips to our short-term rentals, and to treat everything very individualized versus as a whole. It opened my mind to so many different ways. I think it's the most helpful thing I've ever read. So really appreciate it. And the other thing I wanted to note too is so many people will tell you that you can't do things, or that this isn't going to be successful, or whatever you want. You're the only person that can define success for you. You're the only person that can decide what's going to move forward. And so I think that this book really helps me just understand how to kind of put it all into place for myself, and to really focus on us and our business, and how to grow our business in a better way.
Awesome. Justin, do you have a book? Or are you on board with that one?
Yeah, I like that one. I have been into audiobooks recently. So and I'm going to go to Mindset, but Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Fantastic. Most people will come up with Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill, but there's another book there. Tell us just a little bit about why that one resonates with you.
Because it's the devil in your head. It's everything. It's an inside job, right? And you are your own limitations, and you make these agreements with the devil, and unknowingly, or the bad guy in your head, right? The good and the bad. And it's a deep look at how you look at things. I don't know. I can't. It's just much deeper. It's a deeper book. It's a mindset book. Yeah. It talks about decisions, and it talks about just outwitting the devil. It's a great title for the book.
I love it. I mean, sometimes the devil is just resistance. Stephen Pressfield, who wrote The War of Art, talks about that is just the resistance of you or from other people. And both of those are great. And I think they're books people are going to look up. I have a couple follow-ups for you guys. One, where do people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with you personally if they just want some advice, or to get into the coaching? And we'll link to all those things in the show notes, and then I'll follow up with one big question at the end.
I would say Instagram. DM us, comment. Honestly, we love to interact with people on social media. Instagram, I feel like I'm always on at some point.
Yeah, me too. But I feel like Instagram, it's like people used to think of it a different way. It's definitely like just as much a communication platform. I like it from a creator's point of view, that like, we get all sorts of spam messages in our DMs. I just don't have to answer them. But I do like when people take that, if you're going to contact you guys, don't you want them to like come with some value also? Like, hey, we saw this project, we like this. And just instead of saying like, hey, can you help me? Question mark.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we do answer everyone on Instagram. So please DM us, comment.
We're on Facebook too. If you want to email us, you can email at info@justdivineproperties.com. But at just_divine_properties is where you can find us.
Yeah. And did you have a podcast too? Did I read that?
Yeah, I do have a podcast.
Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. It's called The Alcoholic Entrepreneur. And so a little bit about my background is I had a drinking problem for many years. And I quit drinking. I haven't had a drink in 5.5 years, May 2nd.
Awesome. Congrats, man. Keep going.
Yeah. So, and again, this is another great thing. Like, I dealt with an addiction through the brand new entrepreneurship journey, through leaving the corporate world. I had a sister die of an opiate overdose through all of this. And I was still able to not only stay sober, but also still continue to run my business and still use my mindset to get me through these things, and use the support and use, my mental health tools and things like that. So anyways, back to the podcast. My podcast is called The Alcoholic Entrepreneur, and it is a podcast where I interview people much like you're doing, and we discuss recovery and we discuss entrepreneurship and how the mindset of those two things I have found to be very similar. And so I talk to successful entrepreneurs and successful people in recovery. You don't have to be one or the other or both, but I think that it's a mindset podcast, and we talk about just overcoming, and being an entrepreneur, and those that struggle with recovery or have addiction in their family or have been affected by it. We talk about that. We talk about the things that are being stigmatized. We talk about the things that aren't being talked about, like mental health, like addiction, like abuse. So, it's really kind of a raw look at entrepreneurship and recovery. And so, yeah, there was, I have about 43 episodes on there. I've taken a little bit of break just because I'm doing a couple other things. I'm running for public office here in Hunterdon County.
Oh, sweet.
For a commissioner seat.
Yeah. And man, you guys are busy. I'm not sure there's anything that you don't do. I like it.
Well, that's what entrepreneurship and real estate investing has allowed us to do. Give us our time back at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Give us our time back. We can do a ton of other things.
Yeah. So if you live in Hunterdon County, you're going to vote for Justin Balunsat when that comes out. You're going to listen to the podcast. We're going to link to that. 2 follow-up questions to round this off. Where does Just Divine come from? I can look at it as your names, but maybe there's something else there as well.
It's our names. So my name is Devinne, but it's spelled very funky, and nobody has ever been able to pronounce it correctly at first. So I get anything from Divine, Devinne, I don't know, everything. Yeah. And so Divine obviously sounds cool. And then Just for Justin. So Justin actually came up with it. We were putting our heads together. He's a very creative person, and it just kind of came to him one day, and we've kind of went with it. So all of our businesses are kind of named off of our name, Just Divine.
Awesome. All right. Here's your last question. If you could give one piece of advice each to new real estate investors in this climate, what would it be?
I would say, I'm going to give 2. I'm sorry. But I would say one is be kind. We're all fighting a battle of life, right? We're all trying to figure it out as we go. And so be kind to one another. I think it's really important. It's going to get you farther in life. And the other thing I would say is just keep pushing. You're going to have a lot of people that naysay you, that say you can't do it. We've had that too. We still have people telling us that we can't do certain things. And there's always going to be somebody out there who says you can't, but you know that you can, and you're your best advocate. So keep pushing and don't give up. You have your dreams and work towards them every day. So be kind and keep going.
Awesome. Justin?
I would say find a mentor, because you also need to stop believing everything you think. Right? And you need to start throwing those ideas to somebody else, because nobody knows how to lie to us better than us, whether that's good or bad. You're going to tell yourself you're not good enough. you're going to have this imposter syndrome that you're not really an investor until you do it. Starting new, you're going to feel awkward, right? And you're going to tell yourself, you're going to beat yourself up, and you're going to tell yourself you're not good enough. This sucks. I'm not going to do this. I'm not capable of this. This is too much, right? But on the other side, you're also going to tell once you do a deal, you're going to say, oh, I can do everything, and you're going to feel really good. So, we just need to manage those feelings and have a mentor that you can talk to and throw ideas off. Cause like I said, nobody knows how to lie to us better than us.
Fantastic. You guys were awesome. I'm really glad we got to have this chat. I mean, last time we talked was probably like 2 years ago, but you guys have done so much since then. It was an absolute pleasure. We'll link to everything in the show notes, but thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys in person soon. We're doing in-person events now, so I'll send that information to you so we can meet up. Love to see some of your projects as well.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
All right. And before we hop off, I'm just going to remind everybody, and I always say this because we have a lot of other people who host podcasts as well. Look, the way that podcasts get help is if you actually like them, you go and review them. You share them with your friends. None of us really want to beg for your acceptance on them. But if you really get value out of them, let us know. Leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, click the buttons where you can follow along. But I think all of us who are in a field of either podcasting or making videos in this creative culture just appreciate that feedback. And that's really the way that it helps us do more of what we do. So thanks so much again, guys. And I look forward to seeing you in real life very soon. This is Jonathan Green. This was episode 15 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing.